everybody, and welcome to the second half of our doubleheader. We had the Motor City Mad Mouse show earlier with myself and former New York Mets manager Mickey Callaway. Tonight, we have myself, Candy, George, Jacob Christer, and possibly Willie Epting tonight. And the title of the show, What Would You Buy for $10 billion? Why would I lead off with something like that? Because we're going to be talking about the Lakers. I want to thank everybody for being back. I also want to send a special shout out to Stephen Reichel, who did a really good job, Ben Troop, JD Wyatt, sat in with for as well. They all did a good job. Well, Candy and I were out in Europe doing our thing, and everybody else that participated to try to keep everything going continuity-wise. With that said, Willie Epting may be on a little bit later. He had another commitment tonight, but we're going to keep things rolling. Nevertheless, you see the title. You mentioned the cruise. But before we left, the Buss family entered an agreement to sell majority ownership to Mark Walter, the CEO and chairman of Diversified Holding Company, TWG Global, for $10 billion. Jerry Buss purchased the Lakers for $67.5 million in 1979. George Eichhorn, what are your thoughts about what took place with the Lakers here in that sale?
That's an awful lot of money, my friends. That's an awful lot. And I think, when you got LeBron James there still driving that ship, of course you're going to have a huge, huge paycheck and to buy the team, I mean. Now, the NBA obviously has grown. Let's just face the facts. I mean, we have seen the television ratings go up and the number of teams and the playoffs, and then they're trying to extend a lot of things. But as far as the Lakers go, I think that again is one of the jewels, I call them, for lack of a better term, that you're going to see for a purchase. And obviously, I'm not going to get off on a tangent, but you got the Yankees and the Dallas Cowboys and that kind of stuff. But the Lakers, they are definitely premier. Are they worth that much? I could never afford it. I think it's insane, to be honest with you. But people around the league and people that are more in tune with it might say that maybe it's a steal even. I don't know. But I just know this. The Lakers haven't done anything, guys, for years now. Okay? Nothing. And I'll leave it at that.
I don't know. A couple of years ago, they won the title. COVID, not albeit, but they still won it.
I know.
Excuse me, that was number 17. Magic Johnson did predict that when the Boston Celtics were going to be sold, the Lakers would fetch a much bigger return than they did. So I would think that's sort of something. All right, Jacob, what do you think?
Well, George, that's only 2 or 3 more billion than you got. So, it's like, but no, I brought this up earlier in off the shoot camera thing. It's like they got this with LeBron. It's like you had this with LeBron. You've won a recent bubble ring, but it's still a ring. You've got all this. You give yourself a time while you can do it. And see, people forget with these sales what these teams are trying to do and these owners are trying to do when they sell it. Like you'll hear, for instance, the Pittsburgh Pirates fans keep saying, sell the team nutting. Bob Nutting. It's like, okay, you have one player, maybe 2. And you might have to trade them just to try to get more things in the first place if you keep being bad. So what would he have to be able to get a value that he would want in the first place? That goes to all these other bad teams when they say something like this. So it's like, and as much as this is the truth, the McCaskies are old. The old Dusty Ashtrays is dead. So it's like they're going to sell. The McCaskies are going to sell eventually. They're hoping, as much as I can't stand Caleb Williams, they're hoping he succeeds so they have value. The truth. They're really, because you want to be able to have value to be able to get something that you have to do this. The Lakers are value no matter what. If the Yankees sold to be $20 billion, it's just the way that the things. Yeah, it's just. I mean, no matter what the thing is, it is what is on television. It's like what gets on, and the Bears would be pretty close too because they've been so. I mean, they've been around since 1920. You're getting those type of deals, and then the Lions will shock you because they're the Four family. Hypothetical. So. Remember this type of deal. That's what you have. It's the fact of what can you get for the value, and the Lakers are value.
You bring up a couple of interesting points in there, and I'll turn over to Candy in a minute. You think of what other franchises that could be left worth that type of money. The only ones that I can think of, well, we know the Knicks will be worth a boatload of money. I definitely believe that they'd be worth a boatload of money. And we know about the Yankees, but I'm talking about the NBA per se. I don't know if you can do much more than the Knicks because they have the garden and everything else connected with the properties as well. So
Yeah.
you can purchase that property as a whole. But you have the Celtics, the Lakers, and I think the Knicks would be the only one that could supersede that 10 billion total. I don't know, and we'll come up with the other answer to that question up at the headline in a minute. But what do you think, Candy, about the return on investment? I'd say one thing: the Buck family, Jeannie Buck, made a good deal there. Knowing that you bought it for $67.9 million. Is that what I said earlier? No, 67.5. Excuse me. And you're getting 10 billion is a pretty good ROI, let alone some championships to go with it. Candy, take it from there.
$10 billion. I work in a bank and I can't imagine that kind of money. Like that's
you don't make that kind of money, Candy?
No, sorry. No. And the interesting part is Jeannie is actually going to remain governor even after the sale is complete. So she's going to be still representing the team. You know, last year the Celtics were sold for $6.1 billion. Now we're talking about, and let's be completely honest, he already owned part of the Lakers. So this isn't like he bought the whole thing. He already owned part of them. So 10 billion, they're saying that the eventual value of the team could be 12 billion or more. Just because he bought a majority now to get him and did $10 billion, but it just, what it does to me is it tells me that there is such a big diverse where there are some people that are so rich and then there's the other end of the spectrum, and it just really it amazes me. I mean, what other teams could be worth, like, the Yankees, the Dodgers, I mean, at some point are going to be up there. What other big teams are going to be worth that kind of money, and where does it stop? Like, does it stop? Like, will it come to the point where you won't have people like, that's why there's groups that are buying them more so nowadays, because not one person can afford them.
And that was the point I was making, Candy, with something like that. It is a consortium now, all of these.
Yeah.
And realize the big thing about this is it's like so many people that are worth, like, say, the Elons and all that stuff, worth that however much. Remember, it's based on value. They don't have that much liquid.
Right.
They're not buying these teams off of liquid cash. You can't get that much. So you're getting it based off of everybody else's in the first place. I mean, remember, Shaq sold 4% of the Kings years ago, got about $200 million out of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're getting your end, and personally, to me, Bill Maher also sold his 5% of them, and he got about $200 million too for the Mets. So it's like a lot of these now are. It's one thing if you're like, they talk about Bob Nutting and stuff like that, but it's one thing. No matter what the whole thing with Pittsburgh, they are the last of a thought process of this is an owner that wants to win. That's what the Pittsburgh wants.
Right.
This is the last of that because they're going for value and they're going for money and be able to sell off their end and stuff like that. Yeah, and see the Pirates the fans act like that because it is one owner, but there ain't going to be that way much longer. It's going to be because the money is just so much and there's not that much cash.
That's a good point. Well, think about what's happening on Toronto with Maple Leaf Garden Sports Entertainment. They're buying all that out too. Yeah, and I'm with you all the way. Jacob, you're totally on target with that. So let's have a little fun with this whole thing. What would you buy for $10 billion, Candy? $10 billion. You're a banker.
I mean, man, I don't know what I would buy. Like, I don't know. I mean, you invested, obviously, is the Lakers the thing to invest in? I don't know if I'd buy probably a couple of different sports and probably some good businesses. I mean, I don't know, is Apple for sale? How much would you,
Oh no, they'd be worth 300 billion. They wouldn't
Right.
gonna give her 10.
Right. But an investment like that, something to make more money.
Okay. All right. What about you, Jacob?
The Bears.
The Bears.
I'd buy the
Okay.
Bears.
What about you,
Yeah,
George?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would buy, I love my baseball, the Detroit Tigers.
Oh boy, you had to keep that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
thing going.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I'll tell you what.
Okay, Scott,
I'm-
what would you buy?
I would buy a nice piece of property with a lot of land out in Iceland. Iceland.
yeah.
It was so serene out there. I didn't want to come back. I really wanted to stay up there. I see why people get away from all this nonsense. Even though I couldn't get any service on my phone and all that, I'm reading Eichhorn a riot act about who's passing and who isn't. Doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it up there. It was so nice to be away from all this for 2 weeks. It really was. I don't get me wrong. I love doing what we do here on the network. I have zero problem with that. And if that wasn't, and I had a little extra money, I'll tell you what I would do. I would invest a little bit of money into the Chelsea Football Club out in the United Kingdom because they're my new toy out in there. Chelsea,
Yes, I saw the pictures. You guys were there. That's great.
unbelievable.
That's a great
I
choice.
can
That's
give
a
an
great
addendum.
choice.
I can
Yeah.
give an addendum to what I do. It's like I do 8 billion for that and do the other 2 billion with after the new stadium for like the whole thing with the battery in Atlanta. Do the kind of a battery around the new Chicago Bears stadium and make money with real estate.
Well, I don't know. Chelsea was my new toy toward the end of the trip, and I liked Iceland. I didn't really particularly like the last day when it was raining and it was cold, but there was nothing about Iceland I didn't like out there. It was just so up there. And I was there before a lot of people made it there. Candy will say, "Yeah, I know you haven't stopped talking about that forever." But just to let everybody know, for all of you folks out there listening for the first time, had a lot of good videos coming from the European trip there and Iceland. So stay tuned. After we get back from Motown, we're gonna start working on some of that stuff. So Iceland and my new toy, the soccer team, Chelsea Football Club. I'll take it. No big deal. All right. But since Candy presented the question, I'll make sure everybody had a legitimate answer. And we'll see if Willie gets a chance to answer those same questions. If he does, fine, no big deal. We'll hopefully see him next week. Next topic of the night: Ron Harper blasts today's players for being selfish. It's all about what they do. It's not about what the team does. Harper has an issue with today's players not knowing the history of the game. So, all right, George, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of respect for Mr. Harper, obviously. And I think when you take a look at what he's saying, I mean, he's not too far from the truth. I mean, you can't lump everybody in, okay? You can't lump everybody even on a team in. I mean, but so many of them we see that they lack the respect of the history of the game. And that's what really bothers me too. So I'm glad Ron spoke out, because what happens is the whole me generation, when that whole me generation started and kicked off, if you will, in the NBA and in the Major League Baseball, other leagues as well. I mean, you saw what happened. They all want to be number one. They all want to be paid the most. They all want to have the spotlight on them and all the big contracts for advertisements and stuff. But get back to reality. And the reality is it takes a team, and it takes every player on that team. I know everybody has superstars. I'm not dumb. I know that. But what Harper is kind of saying is, hey, look, learn about the history. My God, the guys that played this sport, the Bob Cousy's, for example, and the Larry Birds, as you always talk about, Jacob, and what a great the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson era, and many, many more. But the fact of the matter is that more people, more players have a history and a respect for that history. Know a little bit what worked back then. Okay, now it's not going to maybe be the same right now, but know where you came from. Know where the position was of this sport that you're participating in, the NBA, for example, and you'll be better off for it, better educated for sure.
Good point. All right, Jacob.
This all started because Ace Bailey over in I believe Utah, Ace Bailey. You know, it's with him because he didn't know who John Stockton was when he walked by him.
Yeah.
And he said it himself that he was born in 2000, blah 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 blah, and 2000s, and he grew up with Kobe and LeBron and all that kind of stuff like that. But see, here's where the issue goes. I have tried, and I will. And you brought up Larry Bird, so let me bring up this other idea, okay? There are a bunch of, let's see, influencers, MCs, rap guys, all that kind of stuff like that, who they have their own YouTube channels and they look at old Larry Bird things and absolutely, oh my God, this trucker looks awesome. And that's their head, but it's like, oh my God, he might. I thought he was just a shooter. Oh my God, he's got swag, that kind of stuff. They do that. I've told them over and over and over and over to watch the 7 games of the 1984 finals. I've told them to. And as I say, because it is the greatest finals that we will ever see. Over. I've had one take me up on it and he couldn't get through 5 minutes. And do you know why? It's because of the standard definition television and the shorts. It is the idea of something like this. They can't get past. They weren't born around that. We saw the shorts. We saw standard depth. We saw blurriness on our TVs. We saw it's like we saw how Boston Garden was lit. And we saw how LA was lit. LA was lit like a movie. Boston Garden was lit where you saw the fans. You get my point? And it's like we saw all those deals. It was where it was dark in the stands and do all that. You don't have that anymore. They're not used to it. They're not used to standard depth. They're not used to shorts. They make fun of it and they laugh at it. So they're not going to get up to the history because their history will go from like 2003 and 4, 2001 when the long shorts came in. They're going to stick right there. It's because what they're used to.
What about you, Candy? What do you think? Candy. Well, Candy.
Yep.
What do you think? Were you absorbing all of that?
Yeah.
I was. Repeat it again. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I'll pull a sponge out of the kitchen to make sure she absorbs the next one. I guarantee it. But whether the players actually know the history of the game.
Oh, we've talked about this numerous times before. Most players do not know the history and can't go back and tell you some of the greats that have played before them, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, any of them. We've talked with the young players and they can't name some of the big names. It's sad, but then again, do they know history of the United States? Are they even United States citizens playing in here? Do they know about our history or do they, So it's sad because somebody paved the way before them and it would be nice if they knew who they were.
Well, you know what? I'm going back to Tropicana Field with this one. George knows where I'm going with this. Mike Marotte, Troy Percival, remember that story? I was asking Mike Marotte if you knew who Mickey Lolich was. Didn't know who he was. Troy Percival said, "You don't know who Mickey Lolich is?" No, I don't know him. Let me tell you, Troy Percival gave him a history lesson like you wouldn't believe. And I said, yeah. So I up to Troy. A lot of these guys don't know the history of games. No, they don't.
Well, remember this, Scott. We all have gray hair. So we're all going to have the thought.
Yeah, well, on Monday, I saw a lot of my gray hair get cut off of it. It looked like white and silver before I came back to Detroit, but I'm with you. But let me tell you, when I was talking to Troy Percival over at Tropicana Field, and Mike Marotte didn't know who Mickey Lolich was, and they were wearing the number 29, it became a bit more magnified. But Ron Harper's dead on. A lot of these players don't know what came before them and why they're earning all this money. Ever heard of tape delay? They never knew what tape delay was, did they? Now they're reaping the benefits of everything that the modern NBA has to offer.
I heard one guy say once, Scott, what the heck who's Lawrence O'Brien? Why is this named after some Irishman? Larry,
Yeah, right.
they have no clue who the former commissioners were. But that's kind of a funny thing I heard as an aside a couple of years back from one of the players. Really dumb, but do some research. You'll know who Lawrence O'Brien is.
Yeah, let me tell you, these players should be able to do research because they have their cell phones with them in their pocket, let alone by the locker room. So like, their research
too
is a
busy
lot
on
easier
TikTok.
now than they ever did. Yeah, that too. But they should be able to do a lot more now than they ever have. All right. Next topic before we go on to a station break. Shea Gilgeous Alexander had opportunity to get a 5-year, $380 million contract, but instead he's going to take a 4-year deal worth $285 million. And if that isn't enough, his teammate Chet Holmgren get $250 million or $535 million for both of these guys. So, the fact that it is he could have had that $380 million in 2026. He took the lower amount of money now. Oklahoma City has a really good nucleus for a while, don't they, Candy?
They do. They do. Normally you go to me last. Go to me last.
Okay, well, I don't know. I have to make
You
sure
need some more
that
sleep.
I had to make sure we keep you with it. So, all right.
I'm here. I'm here.
All right,
We'll
all right,
go.
we'll go to Jacob. That was an old trick, by the way, I learned from Colonel K many years ago. When I was I'm having fun with you, Candy. Everybody's got to get the Colonel K treatment tonight. I had a hard time keeping attention with a guy that only wrote 5 novels. He called on me, but after a while we got along good. I got to be for the class. I could tell you another story about it down the road, but I used this one conference day per week, and I got the message: stay with the program. Okay. So I have a feeling that Andy will stay with the program because she'll do a station break when we're done. All right, Jacob, you know where I'm going with it? Think OKC set for a while?
Yeah, in a way. Shea for sure because he's stayed healthy. I'm not sure about Chet, and I still don't understand how I absolutely still do not understand how the parents named him Chet. He sounds like a 70-year-old at a bluegrass festival.
Right.
That name for a young kid like that. But for Holmgren, I'm not sure about him. It's because he's already that size and he's already been out for a year with a foot injury.
Right.
And it's like they're doing this now. See, this is what owners do. They do it the right now while you can't do it, and they're afraid that he might get healthy and go somewhere else. So you can lock him down. The problem is, it's kind of like the whole situation with Tyler for football. Tyler Shuck and Michael Penix. They went out 3 and 2 times in college alone. For the year. And it's like, and you're trying, but then they'll have they'll have this short memory when they want to be able to lock them down. They have one time only, and look what happens. And then they can get hurt again. Chet Holmgren, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure just because that height. And for his height, he plays so big. It's like, for instance, I loved Bill Walton and the way he moved, on the thing, especially at the Celtics. And yet he had foot problems, and he had the lightest feet in history. Chet Holmgren plays hard, and he's already been out for a year with a foot injury. I don't know how long it's going to take before he gets another injury, and then they're having to pay him anyway. But they'll be great. I just don't know if they're going to be set for many more titles.
Well, they got one with that group, one more than they had with Kevin Durant. George continued.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Jacob is spot on. I mean, SGA, my God, averaging 30 points a game practically this season. Obviously, he's quite a bit more talented than Chet Holmgren, but Chet, with his 15 points a game, and was a very, very influential part of that Oklahoma City Thunder run to the championship. But I agree. I mean, you're comparing, 2 guys here of different abilities, obviously, and different quality characteristics. And I agree. I mean, I have seen this too before, like you said, that owners, once they get that first championship, they hope for more. I mean, but they are sometimes a little bit more generous and, want to make sure these guys are signed, locked in for X amount of years. It happens all around us. And the NBA is no different. I mean, obviously, every team's got its set of, must-have players. But there's no arguing with the fact that the Thunder have a bright future. And it was a great, great series. It was a great run this year by Indiana and to a lesser extent the Knicks. But there's going to be a lot of players, not just these two, that want their great salary increases. So it's not going to just be these guys. But again, SGA is unbelievable. I mean, this guy's a superstar, no question about it. Chet, I really haven't followed much of Chet's career too much, but again, he was an integral part of this championship season. We know that. You know,
Yeah, I know that. So the reality of the situation is that Sam Presti's done a good job with that team. He really has. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
with Jacob on this one. I understand giving Shea the cash, and he could have even had more money if had he gone the extra year at the original figure that I just sent out there for, and that being the $380 million bucks. But he also realizes he wants to win championships there as well. And Oklahoma City is a small market, so it's better that they lock up a lot of their players over a sustainable period of time so they can keep it rolling. So I see both sides. With Chet, because of the injury the first year, they think it's a little bit of a stretch what they want to keep their core intact. I totally get it. All right, Candy, go ahead.
Chet is 23 years old. He was the number 2 selection in the 2022 draft. He suffered the second major injury of his NBA career after he broke his pelvis in early November. He also missed his entire rookie season due to a ligament tear in his right foot. He missed time because of a hip injury already. And I mean, he's 7'1" center. Yes, he has done some amazing things, but that's a lot of money for someone. I mean, he blocked 11 shots in the finals alone, including 5 in Game 7, the most by any player in an NBA Finals Game 7 since blocks became official in 1974. He's one of just 3 players all time with 150 made three-pointers and 250 blocks through the first 2 seasons. So,
you know something. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Candy.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Jacob.
You know the thing about that is this is why I don't like to have no role playing anymore because there's not roles in the NBA. It's why I don't like to have the no role playing because if he got himself hurt again, you can make him another Mark Eaton. You can just move him right under the basket and be a Mark because he can block shots, and he's really, really, really good at it. He had like 3 or 4 games this year, and I'm like, that's what you. If he would hurt himself and he slowed down for that with his ability to be able to block shots and put that defense, you could have just made him. But we have no role players anymore, and the coaches don't coach a role, and that's what I don't like.
Yeah.
Good points all the way around.
Yeah.
He contested 93% of opponents' shot attempts as the closest defender, the second highest rate in the league since the start of last season, and led the NBA in field goal percentages allowed on layups and dunks last season among players to contest 100-plus shots or more.
Well, with all the numbers you're reading off, Candy, the biggest trick is keep this kid on the floor. He's worth the money. If he isn't, then those stats don't mean an awful lot going into the ability to defend their title.
I agree.
Okay. All right, non-sports topics of the night. I know we like to go ahead and get to those. So we're going back to the Netherlands. Candy, I know that place all too well. In the Netherlands, employee can be absent up to 2 years while receiving 70% of their salary as sick pay. Oh my gosh, can you imagine if they had that in the United States? My goodness, 70%. Really? Seriously, really? And now we have somebody that's in the financial business. Okay, the U.S. Treasury Department will officially end the penny production in 2026. The penny production in 2026. What kind of, are we going to replace it with anything? Candy, what do you think? Can you imagine the penny not being there? What would they use? So they got to round up these numbers? I don't even know. I'm lost. Start with the Netherlands though first. One little thing about the Netherlands I was impressed about is I couldn't believe how many bicycles that they were riding out there. And what? How many bicycles? About 1 million bicycles running, Candy? You remember that?
There was, yeah, it was almost more bicycles than they had people. It was unbelievable how many bicycles, and that's how they get around. That and boat, because there's so many canals over in the Netherlands. But
Now back to the financial question about the penny. You have an answer for that one?
wait a minute, can I talk a little bit about the actual sick pay? And
Yeah,
employees
go
are
ahead.
entitled. Their employees in the Netherlands, employees are entitled to up to 2 years of sick leave with a minimum of 70% of their salary. Employers are obligated to continue paying wages during this period, with many companies opting to pay 100% of their salary in the first year. This system aims to support employees' well-being and recovery while ensuring that they have time to reintegrate into the workforce.
Okay.
That is a huge benefit for them. Every country is different, and so you have to take the good and the bad, and when you're comparing apples to oranges, you got to compare apples to apples and not just. But kudos to them. And as far as the penny is concerned, we all know that there are how many places that are cashless society already. You go to stadiums and it's cashless. So the penny is useless in a cashless society. You see pennies being thrown all over. You see them, you walk through how many parking lots and you'll see a penny here or a penny there. And actually it costs the government more to make a penny than a penny is actually worth. So do I understand it? Yes. Do I see the nickel coming soon down the pipe? Yes.
Well, we have the right person on the show for that topic. So, yeah, as far as the Netherlands is concerned, that was pretty interesting to see all those bicycles running around. As far as the penny thing, I couldn't give an answer anywhere close to Candy, so I'll save my voice when I need it, probably for the next topic. But she's right. The cashless places certainly negate the need for the penny. All right, George, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys had a nice time there. The Europeans, yeah, it's a different type style for a lot of people, a lot of countries, that is. I remember one of my brothers-in-law, Phil, he went there and he told me how clean it was in Europe, how clean it was in Scandinavia. And he says, man, I come home and I see this and the streets are dirty here in Metro Detroit, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is they do have a different respect for their environment. They do respect for their property, whatever. And like you said, they're cutting back on emissions. They're cutting back on all the cars there. Some of these countries are very small, as we know, and the Netherlands included. So it's interesting to hear that from you guys. That the bicycle is one of the most favored forms of transportation. And I think we're spoiled in America. We're spoiled. Everybody wants to get out and run and get a new car right when they're able to drive. Some people wait a little longer. Some of them get them as gifts. But to see that, and you saw it firsthand, I like that. I do. And that sounds like a really beautiful country, the Dutch, the Netherlands. As far as the penny goes, yeah, and Candy, you alluded to it right at the end of your statement that the nickel is costing us even more than the money we lose on the penny in manufacturing the penny. So whether it's Trump or whoever's the president, whoever's going to put their eyes on the next coin to go, the speculation is it'll be the nickel. But the penny, yeah, and you're right. You said about the parking lot, and you see a shiny penny there, you're supposed to pick it up for good luck. That's an old wise tale. Pick that penny up, put it away, stick it somewhere in your pocket and keep it. That's your good luck charm. You hear all kinds of things like that. I'm not too thrilled about it going, but I can understand its time has run its course. It really has. Yeah.
Okay, Jacob.
Well, for one thing, you can, if you want to be able to use something for pennies over the time, you can get a bunch of rolls of pennies and hoard them, and then you can use them for weapons. Put them in.
brass knuckles.
Yeah, big
Yeah,
time.
really
pennies,
dawned on me.
Here's the deal. Also, it wouldn't. Do you want to know why it works in the Netherlands and it doesn't work? And we're not gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna go into politics thing. I'm just gonna go in a common sense thing when it comes to humans. You want to know why it wouldn't work here in the United States that would work in the Netherlands, as far as what the 2 years and all that kind of stuff? Because here's the thing with it. Because in the Netherlands, how big are their, like in Europe, for instance, how big are their flats? What do they own? They are, in comparison to us, they're a minimalist country. They're whatever you can be able to do 2 years, and you want to know what they're going to do for those 2 years for their recovery and do stuff like that. They're going to go to museums. They're going to go hike. They're going to do the bicycle, as you will, to be able to do stuff like that. They buy what they need. Their food, their everything. That's all stuff like that. You do this in the United States, and you're going to get a bunch of lazy people that buy, especially, as you said, cars, which depreciates the minute you go off the lot.
That's true.
And it's like, and the biggest thing about, and everything that you buy will depreciate the minute you take out a package, you go off of a lot. That's what the Americans do, and then they throw away the trash. So you couldn't do that here in the United States because people are too spoiled. If you made the United States like Europe, it's already way too big for that, and the people and a bunch of generations of people that just get things all the time. I mean, look at just I'm trying to think, just like any coffee shop. It's not just a coffee shop. Look at the sandwiches. Look at everything you get. Everything is piles on. The McDonald's, the Big Mac, everything, the extra. Everything's extra in America. It's like, go to Europe. You go to Europe and you go to London and stuff. You can't get ice in your drink. They don't use that kind of thing, that kind of water. It's like, here we load it. I don't like ice personally, but a lot of people do. It's a different world in the type. So it works there because the people have the mindset to make it work.
You know, the interesting about what everybody says here, talk about cars depreciate. I wonder how much a bicycle would depreciate out there. That's curious. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, I know it does matter. We have a station break. Go ahead, Candy.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth, and the foreword is written by George Eichhorn. Both on the show tonight. What a treasure we have. Wow. Talks about Scott's 40 plus years in the media business and how it has evolved and changed old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content. Go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to advertise or sponsor any of our great programming, call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, a few more topics to get to tonight. Deion Sanders, get this. We talked about him yesterday on Inside the Fiction. I've mentioned a little bit of a date in history, and that's this. Makes his big league debut on May 31st, 1989 with the New York Yankees, and later that year made his NFL debut, kicking off an incredible two-sport career. So what are your thoughts, Candy, about Deion Sanders, a two-sport athlete? Well, we see what he's trying to do with Colorado, but let's just go back in time. The fact that he played for the Yankees and the fact that he played football.
You know, there's only a handful of people that have actually tried playing multiple sports. I think it honestly is better for their career. I've been one of those that have said that kids should not be focused only on one sport, that it helps to develop different muscles. You use different muscles. You don't strain certain muscles as much because you're constantly only doing one motion, whether it be a pitcher. I mean, you look at the pitchers these days, and we're talking about they're already having Tommy John surgery. Yuri Perez, his rookie season, and he went down already with, and I think a lot of it has to do with the main focus of, as parents, when their kids are starting to grow up and they start to decide, you know, I love baseball, and then they only play baseball and they don't play some of these other sports. They're not using all of their different muscles, and they're constantly using the same muscles because they're constantly practicing the same sport over and over and over again. And I think that's leading up to some of the injuries. So Dion was good for him that he was a multi-sport and he could make it in the multi-sports. There's only been a handful of people that have done them. He did it. Oh, I'm gonna try and think of some of the other ones that have done it. He
Oh,
did it.
well, we'll stay on with Dion. Okay.
Okay. I mean,
For
but
now.
that
Well, the one of the other ones that did it, I thought it was good at it was Bo Jackson.
Oh
Bo,
yeah, yeah,
Bo Jackson to me. And a lot of the good ones that made it, unfortunately, those two, they didn't, they didn't, they weren't able to play both of them for a long time. But ultimately, another one that actually chose baseball over football was Kirk Gibson of the Tigers. So those are a
yep,
few of the names that stand out. Kirk Gibson obviously was a wide receiver, I believe, for Michigan State, opted to play with the Tigers, so how much longer his baseball career ended. So that's a good point, Andy. I know where you were leading to it. The point is that Deion Sanders, to me, of all the people I mentioned, I think was the best athlete of the group because he was fast, is what he was. And when you play the quarterback position and you can go out there and play baseball. Gave him John Elway, believe it or not, was prepared to do it too, but he used that as leverage to go ahead and get out of Baltimore so that he could play with Denver. But he used the Yankees for a period of time as well. So go ahead, George.
yeah. And the other one is a local guy, Rick Leach, University of Michigan quarterback, and then he played baseball. You remember Scott in the American League for a
Yeah, I
while.
remember
But
Rick Leach.
yeah, but when you look at the total picture here, I mean, Prime Time did it, and he listen. You just look at this: 14 NFL seasons. Won 2 Super Bowls. He played for Atlanta, San Francisco, Dallas, Washington, Baltimore. And then Major League Baseball, as you mentioned, the Yankees and the Braves, the Reds, some great franchises, San Francisco Giants.
Right.
He did get to one World Series in '92, but they didn't win it. But yeah, this is talk about a throwback player that was so talented. He really was, and I know that his career in both sports was off the charts as far as I'm concerned. He's not a superstar in both sports, but boy, oh boy, he contributed mightily to his teams. He really did. I've always admired him, and being able to do this over the course of several seasons is quite remarkable. And like you said, it's not too often that this happens. Oh, and can I do an honorary mention?
Yeah, go ahead.
Jake O'Donnell, NBA referee and American League umpire.
Well,
Jake O'Donnell in his
I should have
90s.
taken that
Yeah.
honorary mention out of that one because I was talking about an athlete, not an umpire.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
That's
Gotcha.
all right. You put it up there.
Yeah.
Now you have to figure out what the hashtag is. And I was kidding with that. I don't know how
All
old
right.
they are. I'm kidding
But
with
yeah,
that.
lots of admiration from me on what's been said about his careers.
Yeah, I thought about Rick Leach too, but I figured I had to
Yeah.
leave one for you.
Thank you.
I knew you'd come up with him.
Yeah. Please.
46 years does that to you after a while. Okay,
Yeah.
Jacob.
Well, Bo Jackson himself said that you couldn't do the two-sport athlete anymore because there's too much competition. And if you
Right.
do two sports, you could be benched on two sports
Right.
because of everybody else. It's the unfortunate part. But the biggest thing with it was I always believed that with the Falcons getting Deion Sanders by itself, knowing that the Braves eventually got Deion and everything,
Right.
the city of Atlanta can find more ways to screw up the most perfect golden goose you could ever see in your darn life.
Oh, really?
Oh my God! It's like if they would have just all they had to do is build around that, and he stays there, and he enters in Michael Vick. Now imagine that part, the last of Deion Sanders with the beginning of Michael Vick. And that's the point I make is the Falcons can mess up they can mess up the biggest golden goose alive. They
Right.
really do. And then in truth, it should, if they were going to do the two sports, it should have been, since the minute he went into the Braves, he should have been both spots for good. Everybody knew he wanted money. Everybody knew what primetime was. But maybe it was because the city wasn't as big then. Now it is built for something like this. Just to be honest, it's built for this kind of world now, the way Atlanta is. But you could have built it faster with something like this, especially the 1991 Falcons and the way that they were. It's like, and the kind of and the potential star power of that team. And I mean, they were like Allen Iverson of their day, the way they changed things. And it's just like, and it was dead in 2 years. And it's like Atlanta just they've kept doing it. They keep doing it. And they could have had Dion for a lifetime. Just all they had to do is pay.
Okay. All right. Well, here, guess what?
Candy, what do you want, Candy?
So I want to just add, yes, we talked about Bo Jackson. The one thing Deion Sanders did, the reason why he was so unique is because he played for both NFL and MLB simultaneously, and even playing in both leagues on the same day. Now, there's a couple other names that I'm going to throw out there that you can hashtag Mr. Scott. One being Brian Jordan. He had a successful career both playing baseball and football. Dave Winfield played both basketball and baseball. He was drafted into the NBA, ABA, MLB, and NFL. Danny Ainge played professional baseball, also while having a distinguished NBA career. We all know Jim Thorpe also played professional baseball alongside he did track and field and football as well. Michael Jordan obviously played baseball and basketball. And we can't forget the latest one, Mr. Tim Tebow played NFL and baseball as well.
I got one more for you. Dave DeBusschere. Remember that name?
Yep.
Dave DeBusschere, a pitcher for the White Sox, I believe, and then played for the Pistons and the Knicks. Dave DeBusschere.
Well, let's go ahead. Let's go to the chat room. Now we have a little activity. Candy, go ahead and read out Cybrewski's. I like this one.
I would buy the Florida Panther Hockey Club and 20,000 Teslas to give away.
There you go. Actually, you might be able to. Didn't we see the prices right, Candy, when we were over on the cruise? You know what, Cybrewski, this may be one of your better acts here coming up with that 20,000 Teslas going to Florida. Wonder if he's in the ballpark with that number. I don't even know. And Brian Pettit, thanks a lot for joining us. We appreciate it. So, great stuff. Okay, everybody, get their take on Deion Sanders. Everybody, am I missing anybody? Yeah. Go to my town. I'm going to actually start off with this one though. Here's what we got going for you. You can even see these articles in the South Florida Tribune. First one I have is Florida State University added additional football game times. And the first one here, I'll let you go to the May 30th, 2025 edition of the South Florida Tribune online. Florida State football's home game on September 6th against East Texas A&M. Yes, they have an East Texas A&M. Will begin at 12 p.m. and air on the ACC network. It was announced, okay? So go to May 30th, 2025 for FSU football, and you'll be able to see the other two games. The other thing we're going to mention is Michael Kelly accepts the same role as athletic director at the U.S. Naval Academy. Did a great job leaving the USF Bowl. So those are my two entries for my town. What about you, Jacob?
Well, let's see. Here in Atlanta right now, they're already talking about selling off with the Braves at this point in time already, which it's unbelievable considering how many division titles they've had, you know, and all that kind of stuff and the struggles that they've had right there. And I'm just like, see, I was joking with my nephew that they were going to trade off Acuna because I was just thinking of a distraction thing, but they might very well do it. They might very well do it, and it's like they're going to send themselves for years, and then you could lose, Snitker, which he's been with the. It's not just the Braves. He's been with the organization all his life, so it's going to be something completely different. So it's interesting to see that they're probably going to have a 70-win year, but I would never have believed it started this year.
Okay, fair enough. George.
Well, there's quite a few things in Detroit going on, I guess. Well, but one of the ones that is rather interesting is you might have heard, of course, that the WNBA is expanding and
Right.
Detroit is getting a team again. And one of the sites that they're considering to build their practice facility in Detroit is the old former Uniroyal Tire Company site.
Really?
Which, if any of you remember, in Detroit, there's a bridge that goes to an island called Belle Isle. And right near that bridge on a street called Jefferson is this prime property. And believe it or not, this property once the city was told that Jerome Bettis was going to come back and build skyscrapers and housing units and apartment towers on this property. Well, it never happened. So if Mr. Gores and all the investors, including Sheila Fordham and all the other investors in this project, approve of this, it would be a wonderful addition to Detroit's waterfront by the Detroit River and by the city's famed island of Belle Isle, is to put this practice facility on the site that they're thinking about. The other thing is kind of a sad note, and I know Scott will remember this. We used to every summer have a boat race in Detroit, and these boats were fantastic. These were called hydroplanes, unlimited hydroplanes, and yet, on a down note, another summer is coming and going, and there will be no racing on the Detroit River, which was one of the toughest and most exciting river courses for these powerful boats called the Unlimited Hydroplanes.
Right.
Miss Budweiser and so many other great boats. There usually were about 10 or 12 of them at the most times. But Detroit, again, cannot get the money. They can't get the sponsorship. Nobody wants to come forward to bring back the Gold Cup. It's called the Gold Cup of hydroplane racing in Detroit. And that's a downer for me, because there used to be a summer tradition to have those races right near this same area I'm talking about, Belle Isle and East Jefferson.
Well, when you and I worked at the WHOs, we had Dean Genowith on as a guest until he was subsequently killed. So it was too bad.
Yes,
I
great.
remember that. I
Yeah, I
remember it
remember
well.
that. Yes.
Yeah, they were big back then. Jim Hendrick, I think, was doing a lot of the
Yes.
broadcasting. So
Yep.
Alzheimer's didn't gotten to that part yet. All right, Candy, give me a scoop on what's going on in your town or towns.
So the mighty Brewers, with their whole payroll of $108 million, swept the LA Dodgers that have a payroll of $340 million. Really, a small market team taking down such a big market and big payroll. Aww.
Yeah, tell me how emotional you're getting with this.
What?
What's that? Tell me how emotional you're really getting with this one.
Kudos to the Brewers. Now, as for the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing in this offseason. All I'm going to say is I hope you're not angering Giannis too much, because he has been faithful to Milwaukee. Milwaukee has been faithful to him. But, and here's where I'm going to say, here's one of those that he hasn't been vocal about coming out and saying, oh, I need him to stay on the team and him to stay on the team, and that, like some of the other superstars. But in the same breath, Milwaukee, he is the face of your franchise, and you need to make sure you keep him happy, however that is.
Okay. All right, 3 points all the way around. Final topic of the night. Indiana Pacers assistant coach Jenny Boucek is only one of 15 women coaching on an NBA team, coach in the NBA Finals, and raising her daughter as a single mom. That's impressive, isn't it, Candy?
That is very impressive. I'm just waiting for the first female NBA head coach to be named.
Yeah, I actually thought that was going to be Becky Hammond, but I thought it would be. All right, Jacob, what are your thoughts?
This is the thing. We've got this right now. And I've been saying about Becky Hammond also, but here's another thing too. Quit going after, and I'm saying this, quit going after Dawn Staley. She coaches college. She coaches college. She has not coached men. I mean, quit doing this based off of an idea or we have to be number one. It's what's going to happen is like it's going to be like the whole Kim Ng situation with the Miami. It's like you get something along those lines, and you're going to get somebody. You get something along those lines. She got them to a playoff. She built it into a playoff. Look what they did with her, and they're going to do the same like this. If you're going to get a new NBA head coach for a woman, make it somebody who's actually coached men. Becky Hammond. What was this lady? Janie what? The lady that for Indiana.
Jenny
Oh,
Boo- yeah.
yeah, Jenny Busick.
Busick.
Yeah. Let her be her. Let it be anything. It's like, I mean, if it works, it works. They quit going after. They keep talking about, oh, when you go after Dawn Staley. No, she's the coach. She has coached the college. She has coached college women's basketball in a most brilliant manner. With those the finals and with those wins and with those everything. Do not get that wrong. But she has not coached pro. She has not even coached WNBA. She has not coached men. And the ones that we have talked about have. And there's a thing. If you're in that fraternity or sorority, if we can add to it, or whatever we say, if you're in that world, then you're in that thing where they say she's that good. She knows how to coach men, and she knows how to get them, and they listen to her. That's where I'm saying right now, get one of them if you're going to do that. And we said Becky Hammond, she coached the summer league to a title.
Yeah, I remember that.
So she coached men.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point about it. It's like, go get somebody who's already done it.
Yeah, I thought for sure she had a shot at that San Antonio job. I really do. One other name worth bringing up would be Nancy Lieberman too. I think if there's any person that could have coached both sides, it would have been Nancy Lieberman. But that's just another name to throw out there. All right, George, go
Well, she
ahead.
played with men in semi-pro leagues, so she knows how to deal with men too.
Exactly, that's my point. Thanks for making it for me. I appreciate it. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, Nancy Lieberman, of course, at one time she was involved with the Detroit Shock as well. And as you guys mentioned, assistant coach with Sacramento Kings. But no, I mean, yeah, Becky is the one that I kind of had my eyes on, and I think she, did a good job in the summer league there. And also she had been working too, obviously, for San Antonio. It's an opportunity. The door is open now, not as wide open as some people would hope. But the fact of the matter is that the Jenny's appearance at Busick as assistant coach of the Pacers was great to see in the NBA Finals. Before that, I think she was with Sacramento and also the Dallas Mavericks for a while. It's a great opportunity to see. And I really think it will be a little bit more commonplace. We do need to see if they can become a head coach in the NBA. Of course, that would be wonderful. And one of the other things, I just got to slide this in, guys, and Candy, that what really bothered me is the fact that the NBA is now have at least a half dozen female officials. Did you guys know that not a single one of them made the playoffs this year? Not a single female referee. And I'm sorry, Silver, that's a bonehead on your part and your officiating staff that you did not see the wise. And I'm not saying give her a job, give her a playoff appearance, but the NBA referees, you've done a good job, the NBA, developing these great women officials. But my God, they couldn't even make the playoffs. That bothered me. But anyways, back to topic. Point, George. Assistant coaches, and it's great to see the women there. I agree.
And George,
Yep.
You brought that up with the officials. This is what I have to say all the time. And Candy's heard me say this before. Or something like this with all these type of things. A lot of things that they do is a pandering and the boneheaded, stupid thing to get people to keep from having the mobs going. And you've heard me say that before. It's not real. This is the thing. If the NBA women officials are that good, you put them in the playoffs. If people believed in it, you put them in the playoffs. If they believed in them as coaches truly, you put them out there. Everybody does this to avoid mobs and to avoid the issue that they have. They don't believe in it. They don't believe in it. They don't believe in the deal. And it's like, I think of Bruce Arians. He was the first coach to put women in there because you know what it was? It wasn't a pandering thing. It wasn't a thing. It's like she knows her stuff. The end. And it's like and Adam Silver needs to be the same. They know their stuff. The end. Everything. The end. There doesn't need to be excuses. There doesn't need to be mob rule. There doesn't need to be anything. We are a changed world. Just do it. Or don't. Just don't be a liar about it.
Well, let me make one point very clear about Jenny Busek. He works with Rick Carlisle. If there's anybody that could probably be the mentor of a female coach, Rick Carlisle is definitely the type of guy who could do it, and he nearly made history by being able to become one of just a few coaches to win a championship for two separate teams. So Rick Carlisle is a heck of a coach, albeit I know the Pacers are making wholesale changes. We're not going to talk about that tonight. But Rick Carlisle, Jenny Busek, she's my best bet to probably get one of these jobs if it does come about. We'll see how this one plays, and that's really why I wanted to go with it. Candy, do you have any closing thoughts on this before we wrap up the show?
Nope.
Okay,
I talked about it.
Well, we'll go to our last station break, and then we'll call it a night. We have a couple shows tomorrow night as well. So go ahead, Candy, last station break.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morgenroth. And the foreword was written by the other panelist, George Eichhorn. Both of them did an excellent job. Talks about Scott's 40-plus years in the media business and how it has evolved. Some great stories, great pictures. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where all three of these fine gentlemen have written from time to time. So go check out our website as well. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to sponsor any one of our great shows or advertise, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights on Sports Exchange, you never know what you're going to get. Thursday nights on Fire Up, again, you never know what you're going to get. Tune in to find out. Previously on tonight, on the Motor City Madmouth Show, it's Scott's one-on-one interview show where he talks to, you never know. Tonight, it was former MLB manager Mickey Callaway. But he has some great other interviews, so go check it out. Last but not least, if you want to be a guest, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you, Candy. All right. Point of show where everybody has the opportunity to hold themselves. Go ahead, Jacob, lead off.
This is the final part of it, right?
Yeah. If you have a party shot, go ahead.
I've got something perfect, and then I've got to just take it out. I got to take it out after this.
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. I've been watching Wimbledon, and I'm watching Ben Shelton right now. And this kid, and I've been watching the last couple of years. This kid's exciting. Do not get that wrong. So this is not an insult toward him. This is the coach in me. I wish I had a chance to coach a kid like this because so exciting to watch play. And he's got a lot of energy. But if I was to have a chance at coaching this guy, first thing I'm absolutely going to say is conserve the energy. You try to annihilate everything. It is your energy. It is your youth. It is all that. But here's the issue with this. One of the other players from our past that is about to be retired, I can tell you that, Grigor Dimitrov. He was leading 2-0 again, almost have an upset against the number one player. And then his tore his pec while he was up. And the other guy goes on. he used to annihilate every ball. And now he has had to withdraw from the last 5 Grand Slams because of injuries. He used to annihilate everything. This is going to happen to you, Ben. This is one of those where I would love to be able to get you some top spin. I'd love to be able to get you some touch. To be able to, to use you have great power, and I don't want you to lose the great power, but use it to finish game matches, not go get back and forth over and over and over again and annihilate everything, because you're going to get yourself hurt. And that's a lot of athletes also. And it shows the idea of life that everything is on TikTok and everything is on YouTube, and people just want the 20-second reels. And it is a problem. It's like if you give yourself more variety, you win. But do the athletes care, or do they want to get on reels? And that's where the problem lies. And I feel for this, because the injuries are going to build up on this kid. And I just say, I wish I could be able to coach him before it's too late. And of course, I never will, but you get my point.
Okay. All right. Why don't you let everybody know they get a hold of you?
Well, I am on Substack now. It's just under the old pundit deal. I've got it under that. I am on Sideline One Sports on TikTok, Jacob Christner on Facebook, and then all that kind of stuff. And I did Substack and a Ricochet. So if I'm doing that, I'm writing more. So you guys are gonna be getting some stuff too. Very soon.
Okay, well, glad you're on every Wednesday night. It's your spot Wednesday night. We're glad to have you. If you have to get going, you're tired, I understand.
Yes, I am. I got a long day tomorrow.
Well, you look fine. I appreciate you hanging in there. We had to get Mickey Callaway in. We'll see you next Wednesday night. Jacob, thank you very much for being on. Good night, my friend. Thank you. All right, George, go ahead. Let everybody know they get a hold of you.
Sure.
And you and I have the sports wrap tomorrow night. We'll have a pretty good show lined up. Cody Spink will be along with us. And we're also planning to bring Taylor Phillips on as well. Michael, just so you let Michael Woodard know he is, if he's available for Thursday night activity, Candy will be more than happy to use him if she wants to. Okay. So go ahead. All right.
Sounds good. Yeah. Scott and I worked together for a long time, 46 years. It seems like it's going on 50. We're close to it. But anyways, yeah, the Detroit Monitor kind of is where we started, and then at WXYZ Radio back in the day. And the Detroit Monitor is where I'm still at. I also write, obviously, for the South Florida Tribune under the contributors category. You'll see my articles. I wrote about the Tigers and their recent success, and that article has been posted. And at the end of the article, there's a link that'll take you to Amazon, that if you'd like to check out my book, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air, a much younger version of Scott and a much younger version of me, I might add, is in that book. But more important than us, of course, are guys like Ernie Harwell, Paul Carey, Van Patrick, Mark Champion, George Blaha, and the list goes on and on. So you will be able to get a copy of that book if you link back to Amazon. Find me at gicorn@yahoo.com, and also on Twitter and LinkedIn under my name. And I'm happy to be part of 108 Stitches and the Sports Exchange, and fire up at any of these great shows that the both of you have put together on this wonderful sports network. So thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Appreciate it. So, all right. Well, that does it for this edition of the Sports Exchange. On behalf of Jacob Christner, George Eichhorn, Candy Ebley, my name is Scott Morgan, our Motor City Mad Mouth. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all the people that are out there keep with an eye on us. And if you miss anything on the show, you can always replay it again by going to the YouTube channel. Once again, hit the red subscribe button, and of course, Candy gave you the audio providers as well. You can watch it as often as you like. I know we try to come up with a lot of different information, sports and non-sports related as well, because every so often I like to give you deviations of everything. And my goal is, no matter what you do in this industry, try to be as different as you can. And that's what we're striving to do, to make sure that you get educated and informed and entertained. And that's what we're here to do week in and week out. So on behalf of, once again, Jacob Christner, Candy Ebley, George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan. Thank you for joining us. And we have programming tomorrow night. George and I begin with Sports Wrap. Candy wraps it up with the Country Club Fire Up with her and JD Wyatt. Good night, everybody.